The Women on the Grid Hub, it's about bringing together women in policy spaces that work on the electric power hub, from policy to generation, to transmission, to distribution, to regulation. We're addressing the inclusion aspect, bringing these women to the table, affirming them, and seeing how we can amplify their voices within the policy space, leveraging on their capabilities as policy influencers, and then at the same time pushing the climate smart agenda in terms of infrastructure delivery.
I started my journey in the power sector as a Chief Commercial Officer in Ikeja Electric. In this role, I was tasked with improving the revenue collection of the organization. I was also meant to reduce the commercial losses whilst achieving customer satisfaction.
I started work with Rural Electrification Agency, REA, 2007 January as Assistant Manager Audit. Ahead of another opportunity to work with the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, I decided to apply for Manager, Market Analysis and Compliance under the Market Competition and Rates Division. And I started working with NEC in June, actually, 2007.
In 2010, I was invited to be part of the Presidential Task Force on Power, and I was in charge of what was called Institutional Continuity Finance Admin, which means I was in charge of the Secretariat of the Presidential Task Force on Power.
I worked with the Harvard Electricity Policy Group. In that group, we advised on policy influencing the US legislation on power. Subsequently, I joined ECODISCO in 2013.
It started with the regulator, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. I worked there at the Legal and Licensing Department for about 3 years before I came back to TCN.
I started my career in 1989, September. I started as a steel officer, and then eventually I moved to the power sector because there were real-time opportunities to resolve problems, and I thought I could add value to the power sector.
So at a point I started to have an interest, just developed an interest in the power sector. I even applied for the Hubert Humphrey Fellowship. And my interest was in the area of economic development which related to power. Somebody mentioned to me that Abuja Electricity is looking for a general counsel and company secretary. And that was how the journey started. I did the interviews, and here I am 8 years plus later.